and it didn't want to start. It's okay. What is up, YouTube and all my fish keeping friends? How y'all doing out there in YouTube? This is Joseph Hardin from JH Aquatics, and I'm here to share with you all my fish keeping adventures, knowledge, and more. Now today, I hope this is coming through well for you. I feel like I have a little bit of frames dropped already. Today I have a really awesome guest in the world of betta fish, domestic and wild bettas, Amber from Big City Bettas. Let me check out the chat real quick and see who's up in here real quick. Let's see, who do we have? All my good friends are in here. We have Daryl Dimmer's been in here for a little while. D from Down the Wormhole. Pamela 54 Punchy. Chris from Multi-Tank Addictions is in here. Good to see you, man. Angelo's Fish Tanks. Ray's Aquaria. How are you? Good to see you here. Alluring Bettas. What is up? Awesome. Long Island Fish Guy. How are you? Can you guys give me a heads up on how this stream is going? I've got a lot that I'm trying to make happen on this stream right now. And, I don't know if it's going to be really, really choppy or not. If this doesn't work, we're just going to go to a Google Hangouts and make that roll. So this is my first time ever even really testing this completely. So you guys are my guinea pigs, but it should come across pretty nice. I might be, I don't know if I'm going to be lagging at all. Just give me a heads up real quick in the chat and let me know how it looks, how it sounds, if it's choppy or not. Bentley Pascal, how are you? Good to see you here. Reels Tanks, what is up? Happy holidays to all of you. Happy Boxing Day as well. How's the chat? How's the stream? Is it coming across pretty good? Is it choppy? Is it funky? Just give me a heads up. It's good. Well, that's good. I don't know if it's going to lag a little bit, but I think we're just going to go ahead loud and clear. AMA Aquatics, how are you? Good to see you here as well. You've been here in here early. Teresa Cookie, good to see you here as well. Crystal Shack Aquatics. Clear as a bell. Well, the audio works. That's number one here. This could just, you know, video is second. So, Candy Overhauls, good to see you here as well. Happy holidays to you and your whole family. Honey Bee, how are you? Good to see you here. All right, so like I said before, I have a really awesome guest, someone who is very knowledgeable in the world of bettas, domestic bettas, wild betta fish. I'm really excited to have her here tonight, pick her brain a little bit and learn a little bit more about betta fish. Let's see, Turbo Fish, good to see you here as well. Kripke, good to see you here too, man. I got so many awesome people here in the chat. I'm so excited. All right, so I don't want to waste too much time. I was just gonna give it a little minute to here to see who pops up in here. For some reason, my for some reason, I can't seem to make my my widget work for my my count of how many people I have in here. It didn't work last week. And I'm not going to mess around with that too long. It doesn't seem to be popping up, and I don't know why. So, oh, I know why. It's there. It's just underneath everything. Oh, layers. It's all about layers. All right, so there we go. We have 25 people up in here. Good to see you all on this holiday week. So excited that y'all had the time to come and hang out. All right, Superior Guppies, good to see you here as well. All right, so I don't want to waste too much time because a really awesome guest here. And I just want to go ahead and switch this over. We'll see how this works. This should work pretty well. Let me go ahead and switch scenes and see what this looks like. What is up, Amber? How are you?
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can hear you and I can see you, and it looks awesome.
Sweet.
All right.
Oh,
How are you doing? You enjoying your holiday week?
yeah, you know, it's been pretty good. Working, cleaning, water changes.
Very cool. I'm just really excited to have you, you know, on the show today because, you know, I met you at the Aquatic Experience, and you were just full of knowledge in regards to domestic and wild bettas, the breeding of them, and the keeping of these fish. And it was just really, really, really interesting. Kind of got me hooked on the idea of keeping some wild bettas. Most people know that I really love wild fish specifically, and just really hope, you know, you'll help me open up my eyes to wild betta fish. And there's just so many different crazy species of wild bettas as well. It just kind of blew my mind. But I just got a couple, well, I got a lot. I got a lot of questions for you. But
Let's be honest. You have a lot of questions.
I got a lot of questions. But first off, I was just really curious, like, what got you into the hobby? How old were you? Like, what really got you into the fish keeping hobby?
See, that's kind of a tricky question because I actually grew up on Lake Champlain in Vermont. So I grew up fishing and hanging off the dock and just like watching the fish and being completely fascinated. And my first fish tank was actually the classic like pet shop, you know, suggested like mix up. It was a 20-gallon with like 4 goldfish, like 3 different types of tetras, 2 of each, and like 1 Corydora and 2 common plecos. So that did very well between the stocking choice and the fact that I just wash the entire tank and filter out every month, once a month.
Scrub the rocks and everything too.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. All clean. And when that failed, it was actually my sister had a Betta in her room on the headboard of her bed, and I can remember going in and feeding him and like changing his water because he's dirty. And just compared to the other fish that I'd had, he was just so interactive and like he remembered me and he'd get excited to see me and flare and show off, and it was just, I was hooked. And when he died, I was absolutely devastated, and I may have like gotten a little crazy and decided at that point that I had to have like a million. That's when I started.
What kind of beta fish was that?
He was a veil tail. He was a Cambodian, so he was like a white body with burgundy fins. He was really pretty.
But this was a more domesticated beta, right?
Yeah, I didn't get into wilds until actually a few years ago, believe it or not.
Oh, okay, really?
Yeah, considering how obsessed I am and the fact that I have 22 different species now.
That's what my next question was going to be. I was just curious. So you mean you have domesticated and wild betas, but and specifically when it comes to wild betas, because that's the thing that I'm so excited about. But you say you have 22 different species, but specifically when it comes to wild beta fish, how many different breeding pairs or how many different species of wild beta fish are you breeding or trying to breed?
As of right now, I have 19 different species that have bred for me. I do have some with different locales, so like my Albia marginata, my Bertigala, the Api Api. I have multiples of those that are from different locations and have some physical differentiations, but just specific species, I have 19. And I actually have 1 male phalanx in there who is going to spit hopefully soon, so that'll be 20.
So out of all of them, what's probably your favorite? Like, I mean, I know it's hard to pick favorites, and I know they're probably listening, so you got to be quiet when you say it, but...
They know. They know. The Api Api are definitely my favorite. They're the ones that got me interested in wild. Something about... I didn't realize how cool they are. Like, they can change their pigmentation. They can fire up and down, similar to geckos, and just... the iridescence on their bodies is insane. Some of them have lamp eyes, and it just... the way they move in the water, they kind of glide around in this really mysterious way, and it absolutely got me hooked. But second, like a very close second, would be rubra. They're a mouth brooding species. So in addition to being like very personable, it's adorable when you have a male holding because their cheeks are just like ballooned. So awesome. And if I keep looking to the side, I do apologize. I'm actively like looking at
the tanks, right?
It's hard when you're talking about something and it's in the same room to not like look at it.
There's a lot of people in the chat. I don't know if you can see the chat. Looks like I got a hello from Lucas Bretz is up in here, and he gave you a hello. A lot of people saying hi to you. There was one question in regard, and I don't even know how to pronounce this properly. I'm gonna just show my complete and utter ignorance on wild species, but I'm not embarrassed because there's a lot to learn about them. Is what I learned very quickly. There's a lot to learn. Bernier, I can't even pronounce his name. Yavis Bernier. He asked a question to you about. Is it Cochina complex betas? And he asked if you had any advice about them.
Low pH.
Low pH.
And when I say low pH, I don't mean adding tannins, and I think that's something that people really get very confused. You can add tannins to a tank without altering the pH. The pH is changed by the decomposition of the organic matter, like the leaves or whatever botanicals you have in there. So my biggest advice for that entire complex would be leaf litter and various like botanical. You could better recommend stuff. You're like,
yeah, but you mean dried botanicals, but also even like Malaysian driftwood and Mapani
yeah.
wood and stuff like that will help as well. Yeah.
But I do find with driftwood and wilds that the mom can be a bit excessive, and that the babies can actually sometimes struggle to find like food at the very bottom, like the bottom of the tanks. Because leaf litter, though it breaks down and has a good amount of mulm, it's not even close to like driftwood, depending on the type of driftwood.
Right. Well, in regards to lowering the pH too, because of the process of decomposition is really what's going to help with the pH level, right? I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people think that just the tannins, you can add tannins to the tank, and they think that when they see tannins in the tank and they see it looking tea colored or coffee colored, that you've automatically lowered the pH, and I think that that's a big misnomer. I don't think people realize that there's definitely a difference between the two. You could have crystal clear water and still have, well, obviously, and still have a lower pH, but would you, well, and it's kind of off of my list, but in regards to that, what's your favorite substrate when you think of using a substrate that's going to buffer the pH of 88, right? Yeah. Definitely.
Amazonia or Amazonia, whatever it is. Ridiculously expensive stuff that just.
I know. Let me go grab something. I want to show something. I'm going to run away from my own live stream. Let me grab something real quick. All right. This is something crazy that I got in. I got in the mail today, and it's about the same price as Amazonia, pretty much. I found it on. It's not going to autofocus because I have it off of autofocus, but it's called aquarium soil. Everything's in Japanese. There's not a lick of English on this except for the barcode. It is 1 liter though, 1L. But basically paying about $11 a liter for this. But this is definitely.
It looks like coffee.
Right, it looks like a bag of coffee, right? But it comes in 1 bag or 1 liter bags, anyways, and I'm paid $11 a liter. I got 5 liters of it, and I'm gonna try this out. We'll see how it works. It definitely says, I can tell, even though it's Chinese, it does have pH and GH, so it buffers the pH and the GH. I definitely got that from the Amazon ad there. So it's it's definitely designed. It's got a bunch of shrimp on the front, so it's definitely designed for like lowering the pH and buffering things out for shrimp. I'm sure it would be perfect for betta fish as well, but we'll see how that stuff goes. That's going to be a little test for me, trying something new and different. But I mean, I think that's about the going price, almost like $1. I mean, 10, 11, $12 a liter for ADA. But
I don't even pay attention to the price anymore.
You can't, right? It's not even about the money. It's you just gotta.
It's a necessity. I need it. It's not a want, it's a requirement. But no, I use ADA, and depending on the species, like I will use ADA just straight for something that needs like a 3.0 or a 4.0, and I will top it with like a sand gravel mix. But for things that can use like a 5.0 to like a 6.0, I'll mix it with EcoComplete.
Right. Yeah.
It's cheaper, and I don't want it to go that low because I will be lowering it as well with leaf litter and other.
I think that's what I'm going to do with this. I have a bunch of EcoComplete as well, and I'm going to take and combine the I'm going to use the aqua soil, that stuff there. It was just called aqua soil, whatever. I'm going to take that and I'm going to mix it with EcoComplete in 1 tank, and then I'm going to take the rest of it and do another tank that's just all of that substrate and kind of do a couple of tests on that. But I'm going to try to mix the two. I definitely like EcoComplete as well. That's definitely, for the price, that's a good substrate. But I've noticed that when I like to plant, I like to use plants as well, a lot of planted tanks, and a lot of the ground cover, a lot of those like carpeting plants, they don't tend to do so well in the EcoComplete. It can't kind of the runners can't travel so easily, and when you're dealing with things like Amazonia ADA stuff or like fluval stratum.
I was just gonna say, if you mix it with stratum, it'll actually hold the roots a lot easier, and I'll be able to like push their way through. Could I actually answer a couple of questions?
Yeah, go for it.
Because a few people have some good ones. Ray wanted to know if I use RDI water or do I use tap water with my more sensitive species. I use, like I said, ADA. And I find that the longer you let that age out in your tank, the more the pH will drop. Once I have the pH where I want it to be, I do very small water changes once a week, and I'll do that with water that I've had leave sitting in the bucket with an air stone just going for like a week or 2 weeks. And that's what I do my water changes out of. And I replace that water like once every 3 weeks. I have multiple buckets going at any given time. No.
Yeah, no, that was fun. Crystal Shack had an interesting question, and I just wanted to answer that for you. But they were asking, how the heck do you have so many subscribers and so many few videos? What's your secret? And I think your secret is just good information. Your videos are, as far as I'm concerned, my personal opinion is your videos are definitely like chock full of information. You're just giving away all your secrets. There's good quality content. It should not be secrets. No, I agree.
Fish breeding, there should be no secrets. We want people to succeed, and we want people to stay in the hobby. Alluring Bettas asked, how about crushed coral shells? I actually will use those for mahachai. I do a mix because the mahachayensis actually like to be at like 8.0 to 8.5. So for those guys, I will use that because crushed coral raises the pH. It doesn't lower it.
Yeah, it'll raise the pH, and yeah, definitely. What was this? Dee from Brooklyn was asking about her koi betta fish. She says that it always turns dark colors. She wanted to know if it has anything to do with the pH.
Marble gene. The marble gene, depending on what colors it has in its genetics, they will form over time. And there's actually one layer of black that I find forms like later on. So you think you have a koi, and then they start slowly darkening, and you end up with like a fairly dark fish compared to what you had before.
L.R. Bretz was asking if we can. Well, first he wanted to compliment you on your racks, but he also wanted to know if we could see some betta fish.
I mean, right now I have these guys, and that side of the room is a complete mess, but I plan on doing a room tour at some point soon. It's tricky because right now I'm actually apartment hunting because I have one bedroom that I'm working out of. So it's a matter of like wanting to do a fish room tour and not wanting the entire internet to see where I sleep because that just feels weird.
Right. Yeah, you want to separate the two, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It was nice we have Simply Bettas up in here. Taylor, good to see you in here. Dante's Wildlife. It's interesting to see the people, just a different, maybe it has something, it's you, it's because you're on the stream. But there's a lot of people that I don't normally see in my stream that I do on Sunday because it's at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock p.m. And that's just a different day for a lot of people and an early time. It's interesting to see the people that I'm getting in here at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's pretty cool. Definitely a different group of people for sure. I have one crazy question. Well, not crazy question. I got one kind of important question to me in regards to wild betta fish, specifically wild betta fish. If there was one species that you could recommend for like a starter for someone's first wild betta fish, like what species would you recommend?
I'd have to go with either Embellus or Embellus, depending on who you ask, or Smaragdina or Smaragdina. I don't know the other pronunciation of it. Those two would both be really good because they can handle a pH of between 5.5 and about 7.0. A lot of people go with the Mahachayensis, which I find is a very odd first pick. They need an unusually high pH, and they also are the only truly brackish species, which kind of throws a lot of people. So for me, I would say Embellus or the Smaragdina. But if you really want to like really jump in and get hooked, Hendra, Rubra. Those are all really good picks. Persephone, if you want a real challenge, those guys like a 4.0, but they're well worth it.
And that's still a bubble nest. They bubble nest, or they mouth brooders?
Which one?
The last one you said. I don't know those names. Yes.
No, Starfly are what I texted you the other night that I was so excited that my male's fat. Number 19 out of my species. Yeah, no, mouth brooders. But that's another cool thing about wilds is some species I'm finding that if you actually provide improper conditions for their bubble nest, they will revert to mouth brooding. which is kind of ridiculous. So
I totally believe that. Yeah. Bentley Pascal was asking you a question about tap water. He says, what are the conditions of your water out of the tap versus I'm sorry, what was this? What is the water like out of the tap versus your aged water in a bucket before doing water changes?
5.5 is what I like it to be at, and it comes out of our tap around 7.5.
7.5. Yeah, I got like 8.2 out of the tap for me. Liquid rock over here. So yeah. I have to RODI for a lot of my fish.
Just cichlids, right?
Well, I have some cichlids and stuff, but I do have a lot of fish that I got wild from Peru, and they prefer really, really, really low TDS water, and somewhat acidic water, 6.8, and like we were getting TDS measurements in the wild of about 15 on average, 12 to 15 TDS. So
somebody pointed out Spyro is making a little...
He's making an appearance over your shoulder there.
Yeah. I'm surprised he's not pitching a hissy fit that he's contained right now.
Well, what would you consider like a respectable minimum tank requirements for a betta fish? I know the species would make a difference, but
I mean, wilds, domestics, which one?
Well, that's the thing. As I realize, there'd probably be a difference between the two. But I guess first, like,
that's actually a really complicated question because, like,
yeah,
if you're looking for just day-to-day health, realistically, you need to pay attention to the cleanliness of your water and not the size of your tank. But if you're looking long-term health, like, the bigger the tank, the better, because fatty liver disease is so prevalent in domestics at this point, and it is to an extent caused by sedentary lifestyle, kind of like what's happening in America right now.
Yeah. Let's see. Mhow9 had a question for you. He was wondering, what is your favorite fish that's not a betta?
Other than the flower horn that I fell in love with at aquatic experience, other than Pedro, that's tricky because lately I've been getting into a handful of other things and like planning out my next fish from like pencilfish. Right now, barred pencilfish are just the coolest thing to me because they're another blackwater species, but they're a really cool community fish. Different types of danios, killifish, because you keep talking about killifish, so now I keep looking at killifish. Julieta chromis, those are freaking amazing. I saw some of those in Kasha's fish room, and those really got me interested in doing some of those, and some like Synodontis petricola, like the dwarf Synodontis, because that would just be really neat.
Yeah, I had a Synodontis to a big koi pond. Well, it's no koi in the pond anymore, but after the hurricanes here, but there was a 2,000-gallon pond, and I released him into that, and he was a full, not a dwarf, he was a full Synodontis oopterus, a featherfin squeaker, and I released him because he's actually one of the largest in the catfish family. He needs a big home so he can grow. What's that?
I'm interrupting you.
Yeah, go ahead.
To answer his question, diamond sturgeon. I didn't think of that one because I'm never going to own.
The sturgeon.
Never going to own one. No, specifically the diamond sturgeons. They have the cool ridge on their back.
Yeah, all the little diamond ridges on their back.
Are, like, ridiculously upturned.
They're like cleated, yeah. We had a question from Ray's Aquaria. She was asking, what other kinds of pets do you have besides fish?
I have a gargoyle gecko, bearded dragon, Merauke blue-tongue skink, and like 26 snakes at this.
26 of them? Yeah. I didn't realize there was that many. What kind of... What kind?
I take in rescues off Craigslist too, because I live in an area where reptile knowledge and education is kind of zero, and a lot of people take on more than they can handle. So
Priscilla reminded me that everyone is here for you, not me.
Well, it's your channel, so I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah. Oh boy. Let's see. What else do I have here? I got a list of questions. Oh, let's see. But yeah, what thing? Okay, if someone's gonna put together a betta fish tank, and I know once again, I mean, there's gonna be a difference between domesticated and wild bettas, but if someone was to put together a tank, say a 10 or 20 gallon aquarium for betta fish, what like main components do you think that they should have in that tank?
You know,
They kind of cross border between domesticated and wild bettas, you know.
I'm gonna go with the exact same thing that I think any fish of like a reasonable size and that can deal with this kind of thing should have, or just any aquarium, and that is good substrate and plants.
Yeah.
Like, and a good sponge filter, because I'm a fan of sponge filters that hold a good cycle, and I think the key to really any fish's health in an aquarium is going to be the cycle.
Well, and when you're talking about plants, and we're also talking about a lot of black water, like heavy tannin black water tanks as well. What plants do you tend to work with for low light and like brackish water conditions?
I only can handle, really, because I'm not going to pretend I'm good at all with plants. Lucas, as he well remembers, that gave me some pearlweed, and I was just like, I don't know, can I handle this? Am I going to kill it? Like, so for me, Crips and Anubias, because I mean, blackwater tanks, those just work. Guppy grass and floating plants.
What kind of floating plants? Just like duckweed or?
I mean,
hyacinth.
Really, anything I can get my hands on. Salvinia minima is really cool. It's like a fern. It has the little fronds on it. Frog bit, red root, both sides is a duckweed, water lettuce.
Turbofish reminded me that he is not here for me. Even if, oh, never mind, we won't. Oh, let's see. Oh, everybody's seeing the dog in the background. Everybody's citing Jasper. So here's an awesome question. What would be your dream tank? Now it doesn't you know, the sky is the limit. Sky is the limit. Just dream big.
Does it have to be a tank, or can it just be like, can I just live in like a public aquarium, only it's my house? Like, I don't know how to answer.
No, the sky is the limit. Yeah, I mean money, no money, you know, don't think about money or any of that.
And it's not even tanks for me, it's biotope. So like every time I see a new, like, Tanganyikan tanks, Zenzo just came out with a new one showing his new smaller Tanganyikan tank, and that's got me obsessed with that. And just seeing Amazonian tanks and just every new biotope or cool aquascape I see, I'm just like, oh, I need to do that. But being a Betta person, I'm very into the biotope community tanks, because for my like 20 years of breeding, it's basically been like, oh, they have to be kept by themselves, you know, they can't have buddies in the tank.
And now, what would you consider a good community fish to home with betta fish?
It depends on the Betta.
Okay.
Some can't be kept with anything. Some can be kept with everything. But I find that the tank's big enough, you can realistically keep most healthy bettas with most other non-aggressive fish. So I wouldn't exactly put a betta in with a gourami, because, which most people don't realize, bettas are gouramis.
Or like an angelfish or a cichlid or something like that, right?
No, wouldn't do cichlid.
Right.
But
very cool. I'm just checking out the chat. There's a lot of good people up in here. She's Betta.
Watch the chat.
Carbon Really is up in here. Friday Fish Fact. Ron from Friday's Fish Fact. Good to see you here as well.
Ooh, Dante's Wildlife wants to know if there are any reptiles that don't need UVB light. Yes, nocturnal ones. So gargoyle geckos, leopard geckos, crested geckos.
Nice.
Really most Rhacodactylus geckos. So Leachianus kahua. I'm forgetting another one. Yeah, most snakes do fine without it, but I would recommend it. And a lot of people say that blue-tongued skinks or skinks in general don't need it. I disagree. I think anything that's diurnal needs access to some UVB. So like my bearded dragon definitely needs UVB. He has a tube light.
Right.
My blue-tongued skink, not necessarily. So she has a dome, because I don't need her getting UVB all the time, but I do want her to have it. My boa constrictor as well, she has UVB. I find it benefits her, even though she's a nocturnal species. So
okay,
sorry,
very
I just wanted
cool.
to hit that.
No, it's yeah, definitely. Candy Overhauls, thank you so much for putting up the links out there. You just put out a video, I think it was yesterday, a really nice video. I don't know. It was like, I don't know how long it was, but it had everything. It was very full of information. Just you have some, you have a bunch of new fry in your fish room right now, and you were going over just the feeding processes and how you care for them on their second week is what it was. That's what it was about, right?
Yeah, the first 2 weeks.
The first 2 weeks.
With Betta fry, a lot of people have die-offs in the first month, but the first 2 weeks are typically the touchiest. And I've developed a system of adding clean water in a way that makes it so the fish don't get shocked by toxic water, and they also don't get shocked once you start adding, water to the tank.
What kind of fry do you have? A couple of different groups of fry going on right now. What is it? What do you have? What exciting is going on in your fish room right now?
I mean, I'm pretty excited about the Stro High. He only spat 7 fry, which is an incredibly small spawn, but that's pretty cool.
And that was coming from you when they came. He came in with that.
No, that was the phalanx. He's still holding. I got it last week, wasn't it? I think it was last week. Last week I got an import order in with an unidentified extra male that turned out to be a Betta phalanx, and he's actually holding, which is really exciting because he didn't come with the female. And
this is coming from Thailand?
Indonesia.
Indonesia, okay.
And the likelihood of him actually holding through the stress of shipping is...
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, so...
Now, what would they do if they were stressed? Would they just...
Eat them.
Spit them out, eat them, or what? Yeah, consume them?
They would eat them. That's Betta's... That is what Bettas do when they are stressed, because in their brain they're going, well, that thing could get the nutrition from my babies, or I could to use on my next one.
Yeah. So let's see. I had a question in here from Fancy Tail Aquatics asking about your rack system, and they're wondering what kind of rack system you're using. And it looks like it holds a lot of weight. You're pretty much using the same thing that I have in my kitchen. Is it just like
it's the one on Amazon that was black and held like
just a wire like
1,200 pounds on each shelf. So I was like, okay, hopefully it'll work.
Yeah, you could put 3 10-gallons, but that's probably the limit. That's what I'm doing myself. I know that that Priscilla Priscilla has the same thing going on. And I kind of saw her doing that. I was like, if it's working for you, I'll try it out. But I feel like that's just testing the limits. That's about as far as I would go is 3 10-gallons. And I'm kind of where you're at. I'm not going to put any more than 6 on the whole unit. Just 6 10-gallons. And the rest is just storage space for other stuff. But
I mean, I did actually get brave in my New York apartment. And I had the same rack, only 1 foot longer. And I had a 40-gallon that was fully filled on the bottom, 33 long, and 3 20s. And I'm pretty sure that my boyfriend at the time was just having anxiety every night that it was all going to blow and he was going to come out to just like a pond.
Yeah.
But it worked out. It worked out.
Well, and it's funny because this one behind me is all wood. This one is all wood. I built it myself, put little lids on the top of it and everything like that. My father was still like he had seen it online, like on YouTube, and we were on the phone one night and he was like, I would mount that to the wall. Like, he's all worried about it, and I'm like, it's tile floors. I don't think he's been in the fish keeping hobby forever, but he was really worried that it was going to topple over with a 55 on top and 420 gallons. But I'm like, I've seen people do a lot more than that.
Yeah, the plan eventually obviously is to build permanent wooden shelving, but once again, I'm living in a bedroom right now, so we're making it work.
Right. Well, if anybody's got any questions out there, go ahead and ask in chat. We're checking it out, keeping an eye on the chat and the questions going on in there.
Also, I apologize if y'all can hear what's going on outside of my door. My roommate's dog is very excited.
Oh. Yeah, I got animals running around all over the place acting crazy. I have to just block them out. Another crazy question. What fish do you want that you do not have now or you've never kept? It doesn't have to be betta fish.
I mean, everything I see that I think is cool. Because I want it all. Right now, like I said, pencil fish are top of the charts. Various types of catfish have been catching my attention, and then I see the size requirement for a tank, and I know that I like to go bigger, and I'm just like, yeah, no, that's because I'm like working with the most nano of nano setups. I can't go bigger than a 10-gallon, so I'm like really restricted.
Yeah, you're kind of in the same situation with me. Just for me, it's the biggest problem is getting the tanks here in the Caribbean, here on this little island that I live on. So I'm lucky now that I have a fish store in St. Thomas that has been working with me, and he's been giving me tanks at kind of his cost. Probably throws up $5 on it or something, but I'm getting 10-gallon tanks for $30, and actually that's really good for where I'm at. I couldn't see myself getting them any cheaper than that right now, so I've been getting like 10 gallons and 20 gallons from him. So that's just kind of where I'm at. I have 255s. I would love to have 5,500 gallon tanks. That would be awesome. They have a bunch of black water biotopes going on, big ones, but in other more brackish water too, because that's a big thing for me. I love brackish water.
So due to the $1 a gallon sale and me having an SUV, I actually have at least 20 10-gallons stored at my parents' in their basement.
There you go.
There's nobody to tell me no. So I'm just like, well, I can carry 4 at a time.
So you're slowly moving them.
No, I'm saying
stashing
I can carry 4 at a time to the register. That way it's not like way too many trips as I'm walking back and forth and they're like watching me climb amongst the pile of tanks. Like, do you have any more 10s?
That Ray Aquaria had a question, but that was to. I think that was to Dank Tank, right? I believe that question was for Dank. Let's see, what else do we have here? Do you have?
Can I give my input?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Reptisan out of the box are better, but Arcadia have a longer lasting like strength on their UPB as far as the tube. So, not to like butt in where I wasn't asked, but I do that a lot, so why stop now?
Well, is there any cool projects you've got coming up? Anything?
I mean, I'm pretty excited about the spawn that I've been doing my series on. As you know, I'm working towards getting a line of blue-eyed koi, because I've never actually worked on eye color, and the male that I have is actually the female I bred him to is his mother, and both her and her sister have bluish eyes. And his spawn, he was one of a few survivors of a spawn that I lost because someone unplugged the heater and I didn't notice. But yes, they were all developing blue eyes, so I'm really hoping to work on that and work on a more restricted pattern to actually come up with a true koi and not a marble koi, because I feel like a good number of people are very confused on the difference between the two with bettas, and a marble is not a koi, because when you sell that to someone, they expect it to hold its patterning, and within a year it's going to be mostly black. So I think there's a very big difference between a marble and a koi. So
do you have any upcoming speaking engagements or any events that you have coming up?
I mean, I'm going to be in Dallas for March. That's
for the aquatic the Aquashella in Dallas.
Yeah, that's going to be happening. I plan on doing all the other expos. I actually have a thing in San Francisco in November with the San Francisco Bay Aquarium Society.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah. That's a class. They go back. They go way back. Let's see. I was just waiting. I was hoping to get some other questions in the chat over here.
Yeah, I know. You texted me earlier being like, help me with questions. I'm like, why am I helping you? This is your channel.
Oh, I have some
I'm
here,
your
you know.
guest. You come up with a question. It's weird being the one to come up with your own question.
Right.
And yeah, giving you
No.
crap.
I was just curious, so, if I, because
Right?
I don't want to miss anything. You got more going on than I ever would have believed. I didn't realize you had so many species of snakes going on at the same time. Let's see.
I mean, well, with the snakes, to be fair, I only keep Western hognose and my boa canis, but I have a handful of others that are either looking for homes or being fed up until they're ready. Ray's Aquaria wanted to know, is there anything you wish someone would have told you about bettas when you first started breeding them?
That's a good question.
Set up the tank and that you need to start adding water like first day. The first day they're free swimming, you want to be adding water to the tank gradually, because I mean, if you don't, you get die-offs, and it's really unfortunate to sit there watching the tank. I mean, if you're like me, I kind of do it as like the fish tank channel, where I just sit there and like stare into the tank for like 20 or 30 minutes a day,
Yeah.
you know, or like refeeding. It's great to watch your fry just dying or gasping at the bottom, or even worse, to watch the tiny ones just like starving off because
you really just start with the water really, really low, a small volume of water in the aquarium, and then you just kind of add water rather than doing actual water changes, which would probably be a little bit more drastic even on free swimming fry, right? So you're just adding fresh water, and as you know, you start to fill the tank up.
Yep. The first 10 days, and then after that it's water changes.
Right.
But gradual. I start at 25%, and then I work up to 50%, and then by the time they're a month old, I'm doing 75% daily changes.
Right, and that's not going to be a shock on...
Because, as a lot of people know, Bettas release a growth-inhibiting hormone, which stunts their siblings.
Yeah, you're rinsing that hormone out of the water column by doing that, right?
Friday Fish Facts wanted to know what's the minimum tank size for a male and female Betta interested in breeding, or he's interested in breeding.
Yeah.
That's a matter of opinion. There really is no minimum. I know of, I mean, some of my collectors also breed. Some of my collectors in Thailand and Indonesia and Malaysia, they breed as well, and some of them are breeding in like these tiny little Tupperware bowls. And
wow,
I mean, the fish take damage, but they spawn. But I really think we need to be ethical when we're breeding anything. I don't think any living thing should be treated like a toy or, you know, an object, just like, oh, we're going to breed it to make more.
No, but if you had a species like, say, the Sparagnina, and you were going to keep them, not just
I would say for domestics and wilds, what I was getting to is like, for a decent amount of space so they can get away from each other, 10-gallon is like my standard.
10 gallon, yeah. But I mean, there's going to be a difference between taking 2 betta fish, putting them into a column of water for a temporary amount of time to breed, to spawn, and then remove one of them or something. There's a difference between that and, like, say, like a Sparagnina, where they would live together long term in that aquarium. You'd probably want at least 10 gallons for something like that, where they're gonna...
Yeah, but I would say for spawning you would want a proper amount of space as well.
Okay.
Even for domestic, because part of their courtship is a nip and chase, where the male will chase the female nipping. Not to like self-promote at all, but like in the first part of my little series that I just started doing, I have a whole section where I included where the male is chasing the female with an open mouth, because I think it's important people know, like, that's part of it. And actually through the years I've had females that would not spawn with some of my more placid males, but when I put them in with a more aggressive male that actually like beat them up, they were like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's part of the courting process, the courting behaviors.
Some of them just, yeah. Ray wanted to know, do you believe that female bettas will become egg-bound if kept with a male betta, or is that just a bunch of hogwash? They will become more eggy, but I've never actually seen a female that was truly egg-bound.
Well, I guess it depends on the male too, right? The behavior of the male. And
well, no, egg-bound is where a female has so many eggs inside of her that she actually almost becomes constipated with eggs.
Oh, okay.
And females, especially crown tails, I think that's one thing people need to realize is crown tail females get eggier than than all other tail types. They become like little freaking submarine torpedoes, and it's almost grotesque. I'm serious, it's almost gross sometimes. They look like they're gonna burst. But I don't actually think females can become egg bound. It doesn't make sense to me. They were created from wilds. Wilds live in the same waters. It just, and again, I've never had a female die of egg bound. I think it's a mistake of people having a female that's very eggy, and then she becomes constipated and dies from that. Okay. I don't think it's actual egg bound.
Terry's
sorry about that. It's just, that's one of those things that really bugs me, because everyone talks about it. I've been breeding 20 years. I don't think it's a thing. Right. I don't.
Terry's Tropical Tanks had a question. in regards to bettas being one of the most popular first fish. Where would you send newcomers in the hobby for information?
Where would I send newcomers?
In regards to bettas, besides your channel.
Simply Betta.
Simply Betta, yeah. Yeah.
Life with Pets.
Nice.
Alluring Bettas has been coming out with some really good stuff lately. Who else? Moon River Bettas. She hasn't uploaded in forever, but Jackie is a wealth.
I'll say that channel again. What was that again?
Moon River Bettas.
Okay.
Jackie Hutcherson. She is a big IBC breeder. Inglorious Bettas. Jan. Betta Territory. You on it. That man is brilliant. Like, as far as Betta knowledge goes, he's probably the most knowledgeable person out there.
Okay, you see,
domestic and show breeding and just genetics.
Alluring Betta had a really good question there for you, in regards to whether or not how do you feel about power growing bettas and whether or not it's detrimental to their health. I was also asking about high protein foods.
Well, I think to answer that question, we need to look at what fish are, which is same thing as reptiles. They're cold-blooded. Their metabolism is very much affected by their surroundings. You make them warmer, their metabolism is going to speed up. And we know with reptiles that that's detrimental to their health. We know power growing is bad. And I mean, if you just think about the science behind it and what it is, how can it be good when a fish that if you grow it normally, it takes 6 to 7 months to hit a mature size, but with power growing, I mean, I've heard of someone having them ready in a month. I've seen them ready at 8 weeks, and it can't be good. And with fatty liver disease being so prevalent in domestic betta lines these days, I just don't think it's a risk that's worth taking.
Yeah, we had a conversation one time. We were talking about because part of his question there was in regards to high protein foods. But you were talking, we were having a discussion at one point about worms being high in fat and high protein foods, and how it's possible to create a fatty liver with feeding all one thing, whether it just be all fatty worms or even a high protein diet without enough fat in it can also affect the liver.
It can affect the health in general. Not feeding enough of a varied diet for really any insectivorous fish is going to affect its health in one way or another. I mean, it's not like they're specialized eaters.
Water. Yeah, no, I agree. A water wizard had a question. What is a good mouth breeding betta for beginners?
For beginners?
I don't think I personally wouldn't touch a mouth brooder for a while. Like, I mean, to me, I'm a beginner betta fish guy. I consider myself completely a beginner. I'm not ashamed of that at all. And I definitely would hold off personally on mouth brooders.
I'm looking at everyone, and I would still go with the rubra. You can keep them at 6.0. The males aren't going to be too aggressive. If you feed them right and get them from a good source, you're not going to worry about health issues, and they're so personable. I can't imagine someone owning them and not like falling in love with wilds.
Oh, well, I didn't realize I had commercials in the middle of my stream. I gotta go in there and mess with those settings. I've honestly never messed with my settings and commercials. Like, I've monetized my videos and I just let it ride, and I never really like played with it because I wasn't trying to be greedy and like set it up. I've never tried to like set it up to get as many commercials in there as possible, but I guess I have a setting in there somewhere where like after a certain amount of minutes it does a commercial. So I do have to apologize to everybody that might have just got hit with a commercial in the middle of the stream. I completely apologize, and I'm actually going to go in there and figure that setting out and get rid of that commercial because I don't want any interruptions in my stream anyways. One commercial at the beginning is good enough for me. That's not what it's about for me. So I really have to apologize for anybody who got hit with that commercial or lost connection. I lost the stream. I guess some people got hit with the commercial, and some people even lost the stream, but not the chat.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't know that it happens every single week and it's always annoying.
Well, I'll have to pull that out of there. So everybody lost connection with the chat. I know that if they go in there, if somebody tries to reset it, maybe it should be fine. Maybe if I end the stream real quick and then restart, it should pop back through. It should. It's worth a try to see how that goes. I'm gonna have to pull that out of there. I don't know why it was even in there. I've never wanted that to be in there. Are we back or not? I don't know if you do a Okay, back. Okay, it's back. So I went ahead and just stopped my stream in OBS and started it up again. Once again, I'm really sorry about that commercial. That is not something I planned at all. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and have to, go and play in the settings and figure out how that happens. Like I said, I'm new to YouTube, honestly, as far as I'm concerned. I've only been on here for about a year and 4 months, and I honestly have never paid any attention to the settings of my monetization or my commercials. But yeah, if you go ahead and refresh it, it should come back now. So sorry about that. Anyways, that's always fun. There's always I always have some technical difficulties somehow. There was a question that I missed.
Because your internet sucks.
No, it wasn't the internet. It's because if it got commercial in the middle, I think it disconnected my OBS stream. What's up?
That is most of your issues, though, is your internet just...
You pretty much, that's island life. That's living in the islands, that's for sure. And I can't even see... I can't see how many people are in the chat because I don't have that in this.
Somebody wanted to know if... And I'm sorry I keep talking over you, it's just...
No, go for it.
It needs to happen or you'll get going. If male and female bettas match in color... spring match, some will, but no. It depends on the genetics that the parents are carrying and not just what they're showing. Kind of like, you might not be a redhead, your siblings might all have hair, but your cousin might be a redhead and one of your children might be a redhead because it's in your genetics. And bettas are very much the same way, and I'm sorry if that analogy is weird, it just worked in my head. I don't know. I don't know if that's applicable here, but that's kind of how it works. Is what you see is not necessarily what you're going to get out of that fish because it might be carrying something else.
Yeah, recessive traits is. Yeah. Now I'm buffering. That's awesome. I don't know. I think what it is you YouTube's like, you've had an hour and now you're done. You're not allowed any more. I don't know. Because now it's buffering for some reason, and it's buffering hard. I can see it on my side with 33.
I'm watching it on the software, so it's good for me.
On my OBS, I'm up to 35% dropped frames right now. So it's yay. But at least we got through an hour and 50. Oh, I mean, we got through 56 minutes of the stream, which brings us pretty close to the end. But hopefully it's not. It's still buffering and just got hit with a commercial. Ray Aquaria, I'm sorry.
Oh, Ray.
Oh well, it was good for. See, it's YouTube. It's like you've had your time, and now I'm going to throw things at you. Let's see. But I do have another quick question here before we have to kind of shut it down here. Where's a good place for people to look for quality betta fish, honestly? And what should people be looking for in a good, healthy betta fish?
I mean, where should people for them?
Well, yeah. Like Aquabid and stuff like that. How do you feel about, without getting yourself in too much trouble on a live stream? How do you feel about places like Aquabid? I guess it's seller to seller. It's a little different.
It depends on if you know what you're looking for, or what you're looking at, rather.
So what would you, if you were like going to be on Aquabid and you're looking for fish or for betta fish, what would you be looking for?
I'm going to be looking, first of all, if I have something in mind, like fin type, and then I'm going to look for if I have, a project in mind color-wise, I'd be looking for that. I have certain sellers that I really like, Emmy Golf, being one of them. I can't think of any others off the top of my head that have like solidly pulled through for me. But yeah, once I find a fish that I like, I then go into that seller's page and look at their other bettas. And if they have any others of the same color or fin type, I look at those because they're likely siblings. And if they have any faults, like serious faults or mutations, I don't buy. But imports in general are kind of a risk. I mean, 90% of them come in with like one disease or another. Hexasemia is one of the worst ones.
So what do you treat, like if you got a fish coming in?
Really quick, if you look on Aquabill, a lot of domestic ads, you can even see the hole and head disease. Like you can go on and actively diagnose fish.
You see it in the picture, you're saying, on the fish.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
In the ads, you can actually diagnose various like skin afflictions that these fish have sometimes. So that's another thing, is issues within the fish that seller is selling.
So when you get a fish in, what is your quarantine process? What do you medicate, or how do you handle quarantining a?
I mean, I do Corey's full threat dose of Corey of Aquarium Co-op's
this trio.
Erythromycin. It depends on if the fish is showing signs of hexasemia. If so, I'll use furin 2 at a very high dosage for 2 days. I also always keep all of my domestics water treated with a tablespoon of salt every 5 gallons. I find that promotes like a really healthy slime coat. And salt, despite what a lot of people say.
And that was going to be my question too. I meant to ask you earlier, is in regards to salt. I mean, I'm really big on salt. In a lot of cases, I was having a chat with somebody earlier, with Honeybee actually, in another stream earlier, about using salt with oxalotls, and you know, a lot of people say it's not the right thing to do, but I was talking about using it like on a very, 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 very small amount, kind of more to soften the water, you know, not soften the water, but you know, add some minerals to the water, and to kind of help to de-stress the oxalotl. But that oxalotls can be something totally separate. Huh?
It's an amphibian.
Right, and that's an amphibian, so that would be completely different. I shouldn't even go there. And I know nothing about oxalotls, so I was getting into that with her, and I realized, okay, she just got a point here that's totally different than like a fish. You don't treat it like a fish. But besides that, for me, like I use all of my fish, especially my scaleless fish, like obviously my eels, brackish water, my loaches, and things like that, I do definitely use, not a lot. You know, like all my tanks get a small amount of salt. Then again, at the same time, I'm using RO water, so I'm starting out with a TDS of nothing, and I put a little sprinkle of salt, and that might bring it up to 50 or 60. But it's just there as kind of a de-stressor. But I use marine salt personally.
It is buffering apparently real hard.
Oh yeah. Well, we're at the end of the stream, honestly. It's 8 o'clock, so we've been streaming for an hour. So I should be finishing it up anyways. And then Ray says the stream is back. But yeah, no, I agree with you in regards to salt, though. I mean, there's definitely... but, you know, like in betta fish, you definitely use that pretty much with all your betta fish, right? You have a certain level of salt. Are you using marine salt? Are you using aquarium salt? Or...
It depends.
Some people claim they just use like a kosher salt over the table.
That's because that's kosher salt. Any sea salt is the same thing as aquarium salt. I don't remember what he uses, but Jason from Products, when I was at his fish room, he had this like giant bag of horse salt that he said was like $5, and that's what he uses. With wilds, all of my wilds get a pinch of marine salt. My Mahachiensis get the full salinity that domestics do. But I mean, you know, I like salt in my tanks. Part of why we're friends is because, like, we have the exact same taste in tanks. We both like backwater, we both agree on salt, and we both like wild caught fish to be bred for conservation.
Yeah, most definitely.
They're like fishy friends in the community. Hobby is like common interest in tanks.
Well, I'm watching this chat. Right,
let's be real.
I'm watching the chat now. I guess it's going back and forth. It's buffering. It's a little shady, but keep in mind that I'm doing 2 teleconferences at the same time. I'm basically running a teleconference with her through another software application using bandwidth there, and then I'm also screen sharing that through Streamlabs OBS, so I'm double timing it. I'm really pushing my computer's system resources and my bandwidth to its limit. So I'm actually really, really grateful that we've made it through an hour and that this has been that as good as it has been for as long as it has been. I'm totally grateful for that. Yeah, it's definitely looking like it's getting rough over here.
Quick?
Go ahead.
Ray wanted to know transshippers. I always use Koo. Koo is my man. He is the best transshipper that I've used in the US. So
very nice. And we are cutting into now. We have Joel over there. Is Corvus Oskin has just gone live here at 8 o'clock. Well, 8 o'clock my time, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. He just went live. So I don't want to cut into that either. But I do want to say thank you to everybody that's hung out in the stream through all of it, through the commercial there at the end and all the buffering here at the end and whatnot. I do appreciate it. And it's been really nice. It's been an honor to have you here on this stream in this chat. You're chock full of knowledge, and I'm over here like taking notes. So I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out here with me here on my stream, on my channel, and share all your information with everybody out there watching. Thank you so much.
As you all know, I'm always more than happy to get nerdy and talk about my fish. That's kind of what I do. So.
That's it. And definitely all of you out there, if you're not subscribed to her channel, go ahead and go check it and let this all go. I don't know how bad it is on the other side. It seems to be okay now, right? As soon as we get to the end, now everybody's like, oh, it's working now. It's good again. Anyways, so thank you so much, Amber. I appreciate everything. Thank you to all of you out there watching. Everybody have a good rest of your holiday. Have a happy new year. I'm heading out of here. I'm going on a little trip to the States. I'm going to go to Memphis. Looks like I'm going to be also doing a little bit of filming at the Memphis Zoo Aquarium. I got some special written permissions to do that. So we'll be looking forward to that in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. But everybody enjoy the rest of your holiday vacation. If you're still on vacation, happy Boxing Day. Happy New Year. I'm going to get out of here. But remember, guys, keep your tanks clean, your fish fed, and have fun.